I will start by teaching you how to navigate DESSA. When you first log into DESSA, this is what you see. Some of you may have titles across the top. Mine are where these 3 lines are. If I click on my 3 lines, that's my menu. Again, some people have a view where these are across the top. So this dashboard will show you this school year and any students that are assigned to you. And the data that it represents, that is based on the latest assessment. So this one is based on the mid-assessment. For me, I get these little pop-ups, and this is the area of strength for Rumney, the responsible decision making, and this is the area of needed growth, the optimistic thinking. You could, right from this homepage, you could go to rate students, you could browse DESSA strategies. As I continue to scroll down, I see support strategies. These are strategies that I created for students. So these have identified learning targets, but all of that is right on the homepage. As I go over to the other choices, ratings, on ratings, you will see a list of all students assigned to you. If you don't see any, you can add students. If you are a classroom teacher, you will have a rating summary, which shows you the ratings of all of your students. It shows their area of strength, their overall score, which is called their T-score. But if you do have students here, then you can click on one and complete the mini DESSA, which asks, during the past 4 weeks, how often did the student contribute to creating a positive learning environment, listen to others, do the right thing in a difficult situation, express high expectations for themselves, show a willingness to examine their beliefs and opinions, persist to achieve a goal, make others feel welcome or included, speak positively about their future. And so for each one of those 8, you would pick never, rarely, sometimes, often, or almost always. And then you click submit, and the program will give you that child's overall score, where they landed for each of the 6 areas, and their strength and their area of growth. Next, we can look at data and insights. This will show, again, your students. You can filter. You also don't need to select anything, and you can just scroll down and you will see how many are completed. This will give you, there's another column that has student names. I have that blocked off, but it will give you where their overall score was, what their T-score was, what was the form they used, and the last assessment that they had. So this is telling me that this was the mid rating window, and the actual date of completion here was this one. You also could go under competencies, and it would give you the breakdown of the different areas. You could export the student competency breakdown. I could export to a CSV and check it that way. Shows me students starting with the lowest scores or the neediest first, and then moving on from there. So this could be an interesting viewpoint for a classroom teacher to see which students they need to highlight in these areas. The rating window overview. This shows overall that assessment scoring, rating window breakdown, overall social and emotional competence, if ever you needed that. And different schools will likely have a different mix. Impact report. This is getting like a really deep dive into this, but you have all of these different things. Grade level. Rating completion, you want a rating completion of 95% or higher. EdCert completion, I will go into this more, but there are some lessons and some trainings that you can do on DESSA. You have access to that as well. Student portal, so you can see some goal. If any of your students have any goals, it can give you right from this page. You can also get some support strategies. There is also another way, which we will get to. So that's data and insights. Strategies. Now, again, we showed that you could get there through that other link. These are all the strategies that are on this page. That was the overview. Now we'll move on to completing the DESSA 2, which is also called the full DESSA, as opposed to the DESSA Mini, if the student isn't flagged to do so. So what I mean by that is if you go to ratings and you have your students and you complete the Mini, which is 8 questions, and you hit submit, if the student does not score in red or below a T-score of 40, you won't be prompted. But if the student does score below, you're automatically prompted and the full DESSA shows up. However, you can do the full DESSA on any student because you can click on the student and at the top, it will tell you that you can start the full DESSA. And the full DESSA, it's the DESSA 2. And the DESSA 2 has the same rating scales of never, rarely, sometimes, often, and almost always. So these get more specific. Accept that making mistakes is part of learning. Do they stay focused despite a distraction? View negative outcomes as a learning opportunity. Respect a person's right to have a different perspective. So as you can tell, these get more specific. Seek out challenging tasks, encourage others, think before they acted, recognize others' emotions, persist to achieve a goal, accept responsibility for their actions, and as you can see, 40 questions. Sometimes you have students who don't score in the red on the DESSA Mini. When you do the full DESSA, they may score in the red or they may score red in certain areas. Or it might just be helpful to see which areas they're lowest in when you do the full DESSA. Now, my favorite part, we will find and use the DESSA Mini lessons. Now we're back on the home page once again. Scroll down to strategies. And these are, again, all of the strategies. Universal strategies, these are good for everyone. DESSA aligned instructional strategies, these 6 are based on what we score the students on with the mini or the full. And then targeted programs. So let's go over each one of these. Universal strategies. You have this list. That number is the number of lessons in each one. So let's say I want to focus on student voice and engagement because maybe that's not my area of strength. So I clicked on encourage student voice and choice, and I get this printable 1-page PDF. It gives me step by step what I could do and a list of why it matters. Going back, you go back up to the top, hit the back arrow. You could also just go to your dashboard. So now we're going to look at these 6. Now there is a DESSA folder, and inside that folder, each of these 6 has its own folder along with all of the lessons, We also have a binder for each school. It will have the topics, and all of these lessons in each topic will be printed off. If you wanted to use it through DESSA, let's say you wanted to do looking forward to it, you're going to get a PDF. You click use strategy, view or download, and it will give you an explanation. Okay, this is a 5-minute one. You might want one that's longer. So you just click out of it, go back and pick one. Or you might think 5 minutes is perfect. This is what I need. You click download and you go to that one. Also, looking at that same one, looking forward to it, you also have a way to track strategies. So you can pick your group, your site, you can add students, and then when you click next, it will show you the updates. I will show you how to create the groups that you will see under custom groups. So each component or section of your binder, each of these 6, has several lessons that are in them. For the targeted programs, we're going to look at Tier 2 intervention. Once on this page, it does pop up into a different window. So I don't actually need to click on either of these. I'm going to scroll down. These are all the areas where they offer options for intervention. So you pick the one that you want. Let's say I want self-awareness and emotional regulation. I access the programs. I have some different choices in here. You see underneath it says course. When you get all the way done, it will print a certificate. And if you remember in the beginning when I was doing an overview, there is a place to see all of the completed lessons and certificates. So if you printed one and lost it, that's where it would be. So when you click on one, access the intervention program materials. When you click on that, you get there's a facilitator guide, you get an overview, you get the lesson, you can have slides. Some of these slides you could use with your class. You might want to use these at a staff meeting or a team meeting. But it takes you through all the lessons. You see there's quite a few. So if I go back, those are the intervention guides that they offer. Now I'm going to go back to the dashboard. So I'm on my homepage or dashboard, and I scroll down way down at the bottom, new support strategy. I can enter the students that I want in my group. You can add as many or as few as you want. You click next. You're going to select the type, and they do have lots of options. Let's say individual SEL strategy group. You could do small group, behavior plan development. So you pick the one that most matches what you're working on, and then the target competency. So let's say it's decision making. You can have more than one. Then you're going to pick your start and end date. So how long are you going to work with that student or group of students? Then you select the frequency. This allows you to pick quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. So how often are you going to meet? There's also an option to meet just one time. And by tracking it in here, you'll be able to go back and view when you did that lesson with a student and any notes that you had afterwards. So I like to do weekly, and then I pick myself as the owner. And then under comments, I'm going to actually write twice a week because I like to start students at twice a week. And I will put any other comments that I need. And then you click save. I'm actually going to click back because I'm not creating an actual group. But if you were to hit save, then when you come back here, you'll see that number increase. And this is where you will you can always go here to see how many strategies, where you're at with them. It will list them here, including the start date, what type, and the target competencies. If you click view, it will show you that form that you filled out. So while you're creating your groups, you can decide, are you going to pick a lesson from here? I might have done that too fast. I was at my homepage and I went under strategies. I got this list. You could pick any of these and document it in your group. Or if the students have done a bit, let's say twice a week of some instructional strategies, we could say that was layer 2, which is a boost. And you might want to intensify and going to a more intervention level, maybe 3 times a week, and using some of the strategies in the programs. We do have students who we consider at level 3, and we are still using these lessons. Functional skills and social emotional learning is an area that our district is still rather new at in terms of putting it into our MLSS. I hope this gets you really excited to dive in to DESSA.